We've crunched some of the numbers on how the fiscal cliff will impact you and your family. We have an expert ready to answer some of those questions about your financial future in 2013. Peter Dunn, a financial whiz and host of radio talk show Pete the Planner. He's going to answer your questions for you. Pete, thanks for doing this. Our first question comes from Weekend Express's Facebook page. It's a question that a lot of us have. Martha W. asks, I need advice when emergencies arise. How can I afford them on a budget?
Emergencies happen all the time, and having an emergency fund is absolutely vital. What I want most people to do is to set monthly goals. I think too often, we look at 2013, we want it to be great, but the best way to have a great financial 2013 is to worry about January 31st, 2013, and make sure that every time you get paid, you're setting a little money aside for those emergencies and all the other expenses that may pop up.
So how much should we set aside specifically?
Well, the first step is to have at least 1 month's expenses set aside. Natasha, we're not through the layoff cycle in this economy. People will still be getting laid off in 2013. And ideally, you have 3 months' expenses set aside. But the first step is be able to cover your rent or cover your mortgage or cover your car payment. And those are the important things right out the gate.
Yeah, it's so hard to do at the very last second. So plan ahead for that. We've got another question here for you from Jane D. She wants to know how will unemployment benefits, SSI, and food stamps be affected?
Right now, there's still an extension of unemployment benefits. So there isn't a great effect on food stamps and SSI at this point with the fiscal cliff talks. Now, here's the news, Natasha, and here's the news certainly for the person asking the question. That could change. We could see those changes with the expense cuts that are coming. If you're like me, you're thinking, okay, this fiscal cliff stuff wasn't too bad, a little scary at first. Well, I've got news for you. It's going to get ugly here in the next 60 days, and so I think people need to be prepared for that to happen again. Okay,
so Kim W. asked, how in the world am I supposed to figure out how much to have withheld from my check for taxes? And then you wonder, too, like the middle class, who is that specifically?
That's a great question. So anytime that you're employed, you certainly fill out your withholding information with your HR department. And it's a worksheet. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a really hard to understand worksheet because the IRS came up with it. But it's a worksheet that says, how many dependents do you have? And that determines your withholding. Now, when it comes to this tax that just came down this past week, the Social Security tax, that's not up to you and I. That 2%, or actually the 6.2% total, is going to be taken out whether you like it or not, and you really can't do anything to adjust for that.
All right. Peter Dunn, an author of this book, 60 Days to Change. Really appreciate you being with us.
Thanks, Natasha.